and welcome to this segment of Arts Talk. I'm Sherri Burr, and my guest for this segment is Nick Maniatis, who's the director of the New Mexico Film Office. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you very much.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
So let's just talk a little bit about the New Mexico Film Office and what the office does to promote film and television in the state of New Mexico.
Well, we serve in a number of functions. One, we try to recruit productions to come here, so we're in contact with studios and production companies. We kind of oversee the tax incentives that the state has. We shepherd those productions through that process. And then we have a few other programs that we do with productions, that training programs that help productions. And then we've had some other programs that we do for filmmakers, and we've lost some of that funding, but we're trying to get more funding for that to keep those programs going.
Oh, okay. So what are some of the programs that you had or still have at the moment for filmmakers?
Well, we had New Mexico Filmmakers program, which was basically a contest for New Mexicans, and we had judges that were non-partial judges that were part of our office, and then they would be rewarded with some funding to finish or complete projects that they were working on. And we had a number of other programs that we ran through our office, and we're kind of right now looking at all of them to see what worked, what didn't work, and what we're going to continue with and what we won't.
Okay, so you're doing a review.
Yeah.
And what about the crew program? Do you still have that program going?
Yeah, we have the Film Crew Advancement Program. Yes, we have that program going. So that's a program where if you move someone from a third to a second to a first.
In what kind of position?
It could be in any position, any of the below the line positions.
So it could be lighting or...
It could be lighting grip, it could be wardrobe, it could be set deck, it could be anything. As long as they're moving up and learning a new skill, then the state, through our FCAP program, which is a jobs training program, will pay half the salary, and the production pays half their salary up to 1,040 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's a way to encourage New Mexicans to get more training in higher level jobs.
Right, so that our crew becomes better and better. Yeah.
How many crews does New Mexico currently have?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think they say 4. We're 4 deep, and I think we're deeper in some areas than others. It fluctuates a little bit, but I think we may be more than 4. I don't have those exact numbers.
So 4 would imply that New Mexico could support at any given time 4 productions.
Well, and we support more than that. So what happens is productions will come in and they may not have their full crew from here. They get the rebate on the crew that's working for New Mexico companies or New Mexico-based crew members. But we have right now, I mean, we have a big movie going on right now, The Lone Ranger.
Right.
And then we have some smaller films going on, and we also have 3 television shows that are going to start production here in the next, well, one's in production right now and a couple that start very soon.
Okay. So when you have a production like The Lone Ranger, which I understand the budget is north of $200 million.
Correct.
How much do you expect will be spent in New Mexico?
It'll be around $100 million, I think.
Yeah. And then you mentioned the incentives. So how much of that would be eligible for a tax break?
Well, and that's a good point. I said $100 million. I think it'll be around 100 that will be eligible.
Okay.
They may spend a lot more than that's not eligible.
Okay.
So they may have people that are in from out of town that we don't pay for, or they don't count towards the credit, I should say. And they may spend things that also don't count towards the credit. But all their hotel rooms and cars and everything like that. So it'll be, let's say it's, and I'm giving you just a ballpark figure, but and it helps me do my division here, but if it's 84 million, they would receive 21 million back.
Okay. All right. So they get 25% of what they spend. So does that include salaries for actors like Johnny Depp, who is starring in this production? Actors'
salaries, there's what's called a super loan out, where they put all their actors into one, basically a company. That's capped at 20 million, meaning the most they could get back is 5 million.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And you yourself have been involved in the film television industry, so can you tell our audience what has been your
Sure.
role?
Well, I got out of college. I tried to be an actor for about a year, and I was just a horrible actor.
Did you go to film school?
No, I lived in California. I lived in Los Angeles. I went to school out there, a small school, University of Redlands. And I just moved to LA and dove in. I was really not a good actor, but I saw what was going on sets, and I'm like, I want to do what that person does, and it was the producer. So I tried to start working to do that. I got into sitcoms and TV shows. I worked on numerous different TV shows, and I became a member of the Directors Guild as a stage manager. In film, that's a AD, assistant director, same job. They don't delineate them anymore, but at the time they did.
Okay.
And I worked on a number of sitcoms, television shows. I worked on a show called A Different World. I worked on a show called Grace Under Fire. And then I became a segment producer for a show called Candid Camera. We went around the country pulling pranks on folks.
That must have been fun.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And so that was kind of my path, and I was in Los Angeles for many years, and I kind of was just getting burnt out on it a little bit. And I grew up in Denver, Colorado. I had friends out here, and I kept visiting out here, and I finally said, all right, I'm done. So I moved out here, and I've been here for a little over 10 years.
Oh, okay. So what do you think about having that background as a producer, stage manager, help prepare you to become the director of the film office?
It helps a lot because I know what we're dealing with, what we're talking about when the production calls and we've got an issue. I know what that issue is. I've probably lived it. The hardest part for me in this job has been learning state government. You know, that's been more of a learning curve than anything. But it's been helpful that I did some work in basically a lobbying capacity for some groups, and so I do know the legislature, and I know most of the legislators. So that helps because we deal with that a lot. So it's just my learning curve's been state government, and it moves very slowly. And I like to move quickly, you know. So.
Oh, because you have to get bills passed and introduced.
Well, that, or you want to change a rule or something, or you want to hire someone. It's a very long process. I tell people, it's like in private sector, you're in a speedboat and you want to go left, you go left.
Right.
And in public, you're in a big tanker. You want to go left and you turn, and about an hour later, you start going that direction.
Oh, okay. So it's very slow.
Yeah, it's slow, but that's the nature of the beast.
Okay. And what bills did you have in the current legislative session that would have supported your office?
Well, my deal with this legislative session, after last session where there was, they had gone through a big struggle to where they were going to compromise, and they came up with this compromise. And since I took this position, I've been telling everyone I want no bills about film. I don't want to hear anything about film. We just need to catch our breath.
Okay.
So there were some that were positive, but for me, talking with the studios and talking with production companies, they just want stability from us right now. We're not going to have cap issues for a couple years. So I kind of asked everyone to lay off. I would have been happy if there were none.
None, okay.
Yes.
Okay, and by cap issues, you're referring to the overall cap. Can you tell us about how that works?
Yeah, so last year the law was changed where there used to be no cap on how much we could pay back on the incentives. Now they capped it at $50 million, and that was really done in a time when we were going through some strife as far as our budget was concerned for the state. And that gives the legislature and the governor, at least they know what's going out. Well, we can't go over, but we can go over that cap. It's a rolling cap, meaning I could do $60 million this year, which I won't, but I could do $60 million. And that top $10 million, or the overage, will just go first in line the following year.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So
it does. So if you have a production like Long Ranger, which might spend $100 million and be eligible for $25 million in rebate, that's like half your cap in 1 year, right?
Right, but that's not the way it works.
Okay.
So any claim over $5 million is split into 3 years, their payment. So it would be 7 or 8 a year. So instead of taking half of it, like you say, and that would have been tough,
Uh-huh.
it'll be about 7.5, 8 million, and that just lowers us to what, 43, right?
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay.
And we can do 3 or 4 big shows, and we have a lot. We do many more small projects than we do large ones.
Okay. So in the television sector, I know In Plain Sight, for example, shooting here right now, do they qualify for the rebate on television issue by television issue or on their overall spend in the state?
You mean
Segment by segment?
yeah, so
episode
like
by
episode by episode?
Yes.
No, it's done now. It's on a yearly basis. So
Okay.
it usually is a season, is
Okay.
how it turns out, because they usually fall within that.
Uh-huh.
The new law has it so that it's when you file your taxes is when you kind of get in the queue.
Uh-huh.
It used to be, it was right after your spend was done, meaning you finished the season, you could file.
Right.
So some may go over taxable years, meaning they may split it up.
Okay.
But other than that, no, it's per season, basically, per year.
Okay. The new law seems fairly complicated, and I wondered, has that made it a more difficult sell for you as New Mexico's director when you go to Hollywood and try to persuade them to bring productions here?
Well, really, it's not as complicated as folks think, but it's more complicated than it used to be. That's for sure. Part of my job is to explain the new law. Some people, when there's change, a lot of people pulled back. Productions pulled back because they didn't know what the law was going to be. So my biggest hurdle was just calming the waters and saying, look, this is what it is. It's not as onerous as you may think, and we're still one of the best states in the United States.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's based on incentives or locations or?
Well, and that's what production companies have to take into account. So the incentives, they bring a company here, but we have incredible infrastructure, meaning our sound stages, our studios. We have an incredible crew base, probably the best and largest between the coasts. Our proximity to Los Angeles. We have sunshine. We have vistas. We have the whole kind of kit and caboodle. So it all adds up.
Okay. Now, on your website, it says that someone can go and access thousands of pictures of New Mexico. Do you find that that's a frequently visited part of your website, that people are looking for areas to think about filming?
Yes, 'cause we constantly use that. And it's either production companies going on that or location managers going on to find things. And then we also have someone in our office, Don Gray, he's our locations manager. And he's an expert. I mean, he's as good as they come. And so production companies will call him and say, I need a gas station in the middle of nowhere, which we get a lot. And he'll send out packets to them. He'll go in and mine that and send it to them. But it's very easy to use, and anyone can go on there and look at locations, and we'll take more locations, every day.
Oh, okay. So, and I've passed a lot of gas stations in the middle of nowhere when driving the roads of New Mexico. So in order to get all those file photos, did he himself do that, or do you have photographers throughout New Mexico are sending in photos?
Well, many have been shot by Don. I mean, he's put 200,000 miles on his truck in a year, and all in or I don't know about a year, but in the last couple of years. No, anyone can send in their photos. So private property, you can send us your photos if you want to be open for filming on your property. A lot of it, a lot of the kind of iconic things Don has shot. And then a lot we've taken over the years. I mean, this is a culmination of many years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Well, we're filming in front of an audience of law students, and I would like to see if any of them have a question for you at this moment in time.
Do you provide any incentives for local locations to film? Is there any, or do you just provide incentives to the filming companies themselves?
Well, our state properties are free. That's one thing. But yeah, we don't pay locations to film, although production companies will often pay locations to shoot on their property. Does that make, am I answering that correctly?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because, for example, we had a law student whose family home was used as a set for Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
So then it's the production company that's paying.
Correct.
But then if they pay for a New Mexican to use their house, they can claim that as part of the rebate, right?
I think that's probably right. That's one that hasn't come up, but
Yeah.
I think that's right. I'll have
Okay.
to look into that one.
Okay.
But I think that's correct.
Okay.
I was wondering, for getting a new project to the state that wants to utilize the incentive, like do you go out and fish for them, or do you ever, like, do they come to you? And is there certain things like star quality or
It's a
name
little,
actors or?
yeah, it's a little bit of both. We do go to, you know, I went to LA soon after I took the job, and I had 7 meetings a day for 4 days straight, and I
Wow.
met with every major studio, both their television side and their film side. So we do go to them, and then they also, oftentimes it's they need our location, our locale, desert things, but we're starting to get more television where they could shoot that anywhere. But the incentives help. But the process, it's oftentimes a very long process where they've contacted us for certain locations. We kind of nurture them along and finding locations, and then they'll come out and scout. We'll help them with that, and then for television shows, they may shoot a pilot here, and then we have to wait to see if they get picked up, which we're waiting on a few right now.
Okay.
And then sometimes it's just a matter of, do we have enough crew at that time? Is it the right time of the year? And then once they get kind of critical mass, it happens pretty quickly after that.
Okay. Well, you seem to have to keep a lot of balls in play at the same time, and you have to have a lot of knowledge about what's going on in New Mexico at the same time in order to sell these various productions.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. So far, so good. Wow, what an interesting job you have. Unexpected for you, right?
Yeah.
The role came open and you decided to apply for it?
Yeah, it was a tough decision. You know, I talked with my wife, and you know, I've never worked for any government ever. I'm really a private sector guy. But after, you know, I think people had approached me. I said no a few times, and then finally we started thinking about it. And it was something that it's been very interesting.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of fun. It gets me back into